and passionate young lady, Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, from Springfield, Missouri, to the stage.
I believe there are angels among us, sent down to us from somewhere up above. They come to you and me in our darkest hour.
He wants to get out. Ain't gonna happen.
You're the reason I was born to be your mama.
Let her dog take care of her.
I'm feeling it.
I love him so much, but maybe he can get help now. I'm afraid of silent waves.
This is actually kind of the first time I've been honest, besides being honest, with my attorneys. Even that, I haven't been completely honest with them, so.
Who talked to your mother?
I did.
Did you help
No, sir.
Nicholas kill your mom?
No, sir.
Did you have knowledge that Nicholas was going to kill your mom
Yes, sir.
before he did it?
Yes, sir. I talked him into it. It just feels good to be honest. It just proves that happy endings are not just in fairy tales, they're real and true in real life also. Why couldn't anybody figure this out before it got this bad?
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Anne, but I also go by my nickname Nini. I like to focus on Midwest true crime because I'm a Minnesota farmer's daughter. Today we're going to go to Missouri and talk about the very controversial case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. This is one of those cases where people have very different opinions. Some think Gypsy is a victim, some think she's a manipulator. It's a very complex and unusual case. I apologize for how long this video is going to be. I try to include as many details as I can in a video. Sometimes you can do that in 10-15 minutes. This is not one of those cases. We're going to start by stepping out of the Midwest and going down to Louisiana. Specifically, the Lafourche Parish, which is in the toe of the boot-looking part of Louisiana. There, on May 3rd, 1967, Emma Petrie gave birth to her sixth and final child, a girl she named Claudine. Her husband was named Claude, and they named three of their children after him: Claudine, Claude Jr., and Claudia. Claudine would later get the nickname Dee Dee, probably because there were so many Claude names in the family. Dee Dee, being the baby of the family, was spoiled. Her father even admitted he pretty much gave her everything she wanted. Emma seemed to treat Dee Dee in a similar way that Dee Dee treated Gypsy. Dee Dee had a heart murmur, which Emma seemed to focus on. Emma wouldn't let her play outside with other kids or do chores due to Dee Dee having a headache or stomachache or whatnot. Dee Dee slept in her mother's bed. None of her siblings got a car when they were old enough to drive, but Dee Dee got a car. Emma and Claude couldn't pay for her siblings to go to college, but they paid for Dee Dee to go to college.
What's that, Mama?
Some green.
Some green machine. That what?
Dee Dee was into beauty pageants, so her mom would buy her the prettiest dress and the prettiest shoes. So right from the start, Dee Dee learned she didn't have to work to earn anything in life. Family members do not reflect fondly on Dee Dee. They described her as weird, filthy, and possibly bipolar. If she didn't get her way, she made them all pay.
You the bad witch or the good witch?
She's the good one, I'm the bad one.
As an adult, she opened credit cards in her brother and father's names and maxed them out. She stole money from family members. She got arrested for writing bad checks. It sounds like Dee Dee was just following in her mother's footsteps. Emma had been arrested several times for shoplifting. Emma would steal money from family members, and she'd go to laundromats and steal other people's clothes. Dee Dee went to college for 2 years and studied nursing. She also worked briefly as a nurse's aide, so she got familiar with the medical world. When Dee Dee was 24, she met 17-year-old Rod Blanchard at a bowling alley. Rod said Dee Dee got his attention because she was different from the other girls. They began dating, and not too long later, Dee Dee was pregnant with his baby. Rod wanted to do the right thing, and they got married. But he wasn't in love with Dee Dee. The marriage lasted 3 months, and they divorced while Dee Dee was still pregnant. Rod told her he would still be there for her and the baby. Dee Dee moved back in with her family. On July 27, 1991, Dee Dee gave birth to a baby girl. Rod said she was a little small, but otherwise perfectly healthy. They named her Gypsy Rose.
Where's your cranial? Very good. And where's your findalis? You want to blow me a kiss? Very good. I love you.
When Gypsy was 3 months old, Dee Dee thought Gypsy had sleep apnea. Doctors performed overnight tests but found no evidence of sleep apnea. Yet they still prescribed Gypsy a CPAP machine that Dee Dee made her use for years. This started a very scary pattern of Dee Dee being able to convince doctors to prescribe meds or perform surgeries on her daughter when there was no medical evidence that anything was wrong with Gypsy. Dee Dee knew how to manipulate in order to get what she wanted.
Ooh, give me that big smile now so I can see just your face. Go! Oh, honey.
Dee Dee was mostly a single mom, but Rod was still involved in his daughter's life. He thought Dee Dee was a great mom since she was doing most of the work by herself. When Gypsy was around 5, Dee Dee told Rod Gypsy was having seizures and problems with her eyes. She was put on anti-seizure meds and given big, oversized glasses. Later, Dee Dee told Rod Gypsy was having frequent ear infections and digestive problems. Dee Dee started dragging her daughter to many doctor's appointments and having tests run and procedures performed. And like I said, she was able to convince doctors to perform actual surgery on Gypsy. She had tubes put in Gypsy's ears for frequent ear infections. Dee Dee told Rod Gypsy was diagnosed with a chromosome disorder, which was causing all of her symptoms. When Gypsy was 7, Dee Dee started making her use a wheelchair and told everyone she had muscular dystrophy and couldn't walk. She also started telling people Gypsy was mentally impaired. Dee Dee told Rod their daughter would most likely not live past the age of 18. As most of us know now, all of this was lies. Gypsy was perfectly healthy except for a lazy eye that caused her vision to be a little blurry. That was it. Dee Dee had a massive case of Munchausen's by proxy. Dee Dee thrived on getting attention and would do anything to get it, even at the expense of her own daughter. I saw clips of Dee Dee putting Gypsy in a beauty pageant when she looked to be around 5 years old. So I wonder if Dee Dee had tried that avenue and it didn't get her enough attention, so she started fabricating all these mental conditions for Gypsy. There's not a lot that people agree on in this case, but I think we can all agree that Dee Dee was an evil, evil woman. She ruined her daughter's life. It's very shocking how much Dee Dee made her own daughter suffer just to get attention and handouts. In June 1997, Emma died at the age of 59. Family were suspicious Dee Dee was responsible for her own mother's death. She had been her mother's caretaker, and family thought Dee Dee starved her own mother to death. Claude got remarried to a woman named Laura. Dee Dee and Gypsy were still living with them. Laura started to develop stomach problems. Most of the family feel Dee Dee was putting Roundup in food and serving it to her stepmother. When Gypsy started 2nd grade, Dee Dee began to homeschool her. She told people it was due to Gypsy's health conditions, but really it was so Dee Dee could isolate and better control her daughter. Dee Dee didn't really teach her daughter anything though, so at the time Gypsy was arrested, she had a 2nd grade education. Dee Dee isolated Gypsy from her father too. Dee Dee kept his visits with Gypsy brief, and he was never allowed to be alone with her. Dee Dee most likely lied to Gypsy about her father too, so she would be afraid of him, and therefore not developed a bond with him that could threaten this facade Dee Dee was putting on.
She was so scared of me, man. She was shaking. I don't know what Dee Dee told her about me. I probably was the big bad wolf or something, you know. Gypsy must have been so confused, you know. Probably telling her the day before that, you know, I don't love her and all this stuff. And then here she is visiting with me and telling her, look, that's your daddy. Give him a hug.
Dee Dee's family began to get suspicious of how Dee Dee was treating Gypsy. They often confronted Dee Dee about this, and one day Dee Dee had enough, and she took Gypsy and ran off to the New Orleans suburb of Seidel. Not a surprise to anyone, her stepmother Laura's stomach problems all of a sudden got better the second Dee Dee moved away. Dee Dee and Gypsy moved into public housing. They received money from the state due to Gypsy's fake health conditions, and Rod sent $1,200 a month in child support. Somewhere along the line, Dee Dee added leukemia to the list of her daughter's fake illnesses. She continued to bring her daughter to doctors and put her on meds she didn't need, and some of those medications had negative side effects. Dee Dee convinced doctors to put a feeding tube in Gypsy, which had to be changed every 6 months. She made Gypsy sometimes wear oxygen. Dee Dee was even able to convince doctors to remove Gypsy's saliva glands. Dee Dee claimed Gypsy excessively drooled. Before doctor's appointments, Dee Dee would put topical anesthetic on Gypsy's gums to numb them so that she would drool during those doctor's appointments. Gypsy had poor teeth to begin with because the anti-seizure medications that she was on affected them. Then after she didn't have saliva glands anymore, the few good teeth she had left decayed. She had to have most of her front teeth removed and replaced with a bridge. Dee Dee made Gypsy physically suffer so much. Dee Dee made people think Gypsy was younger than she actually was. She made a fake birth certificate that showed Gypsy as being born in 1995, not 1991. This confused Gypsy, and for a while she didn't know how old she was. She once saw her real birth date during a hospital visit, and so she asked her mom about it, but her mom told her it was just an error. It was easy to pass Gypsy off as younger than she actually was due to her squeaky baby voice and small frame.
Hi everybody, right now I'm in Cinderella's castle eating some royal mashed potatoes.
She grew to be only 5 feet tall, but most people only ever saw her sitting in a wheelchair. They never left the house without Gypsy in that wheelchair. Doctors performed a muscle biopsy which showed no evidence of muscular dystrophy, but Dee Dee kept up that lie and forced Gypsy to continue to use a wheelchair.
This is Gypsy Rose reporting from Aurora, Missouri. I am about to dive off our porch into the pile of snow. You ready?
Gypsy later said she always knew she could walk, and she knew she could eat and didn't need the feeding tube. As far as the other conditions, Gypsy trusted her mother was telling her the truth. Which is heartbreaking because the two people a child should be able to trust with their whole heart are their parents. Gypsy did nothing wrong by believing what her mother was telling her. In August 2005, Hurricane Katrina struck New Orleans. Dee Dee and Gypsy's home was ruined. Dee Dee would also claim Gypsy's birth certificate and medical records were destroyed too, but that was a lie. They moved into a shelter that had been set up for people with special needs. They eventually were relocated to Aurora, Missouri, and in grand fashion because a helicopter brought them there due to Gypsy being special needs.
After weeks of staying in the hospital, Dee Dee and Gypsy Rose were then life-flighted to St. John's in Springfield for care.
It is the perfect town, the perfect place.
They were given a house and lots of donations.
This team spent the afternoon moving boxes and furniture into this Aurora house. And it's all for this family, Dee Dee Blanchard and her 12-year-old daughter, Gypsy Rose.
You can never dream it in your wildest dream that so many people would just so generously come and help us and love us.
It's beautiful, and it's happy, and it's full of love.
Their story touched everyone's hearts because it appeared to be a single mother and her special needs daughter who were displaced due to the hurricane. In 2007, Dee Dee brought Gypsy to see Dr. Fernando Flasterstein in Springfield. He was a pediatric neurologist and was supposed to treat Gypsy's muscular dystrophy. And man, did this guy ever drop the ball. Of all the doctors and specialists Dee Dee forced Gypsy to see, Dr. Flasterstein was the only one to put in a medical record that he was suspicious of Munchausen's by proxy. So he does get a little credit for that.
For a person that has not walked for 9 years, she should have technically almost no muscles in her lower extremity. But she did have muscles that looked quite normal. And she was able to support her body weight. I had a big doubt about the whole thing from the beginning.
He contacted the doctor in New Orleans who performed the muscle biopsy and found it had shown no evidence of muscular dystrophy. He noted Dee Dee was a poor historian. He told Dee Dee that he didn't think Gypsy had muscular dystrophy. She stormed out of his office and told him they were never coming back. Despite being a mandated reporter, Dr. Flasterstein didn't do anything about his suspicions other than mention it in the medical record.
Once in a while, we report patients to social services. We do that when we feel that there's a neglect. But a neglect is different what this mom was doing. She was over-treating her. We have a system, which is a big integrated system, that decided to adopt her and bring her, support her. I would have been rejected at the spot. So all what I could do is put that in my note. And I didn't see it right to keep going and convincing other people, something is not right here.
So many people failed Gypsy over the years, and this is one of the most frustrating ones, because like I said, he was a mandated reporter. What's the worst that's going to happen if they don't believe you? It's not like they're going to take your medical degree away. They'll look into it, and if they don't find anything, they'll close the case. And like I said, this was in 2007. If he had done his job and reported her to social services, so much pain could have been prevented. In 2008, Habitat for Humanity built Dee Dee and Gypsy a home in Springfield, Missouri. The home was at 2103 Volunteer Way and was designed for Gypsy's health needs.
We have an awesome bathtub. It's a jacuzzi tub meant for my muscles. And we have a wonderful ramp so I can get up and down by myself. I have wider doors so my chair can get through.
People viewed Dee Dee as this sweet, doting mother who was trying to give her terminal daughter the best life she could before she passed away. People loved Gypsy because she had that squeaky baby voice and always had a huge smile. They didn't just get a house built for them. They got a vehicle donated that could accommodate Gypsy's wheelchair, free flights around the country and to the Children's Mercy Hospital in Kansas City, tickets to sporting events, backstage passes to Miranda Lambert concerts, meeting with actors from The Lord of the Rings, Ronald McDonald visits, and they were involved with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. People also donated a lot of their own money to Dee Dee and Gypsy. There were often fundraisers and GoFundMes.
They've been a huge blessing in our life. I all the time say, between Angel Flight, the Hope Lodge, and Children's Mercy, they saved my baby's life.
They got free trips to Disney World. Gypsy loved Disney movies. She loved the idea of a fairy tale where it always ends with a happy ending and the villains never win. She often dressed up as Disney characters when they were out and about. I think it gave her a chance to be somebody else, and for a brief moment, she could escape the tortured life her mother was forcing her to live. Gypsy often wore wigs, but that was because Dee Dee shaved her hair. She had told Gypsy she was going to lose her hair anyway due to her medications, so they might as well just shave it off. Dee Dee went so far as to shave her own hair too in solidarity.
If we'd be going to the doctor, she would do all the talking. I'd always have a stuffed animal or a Barbie doll. If the doctor would come to examine me, just stay in the wheelchair, be calm, play with your doll, and don't move your legs. If I said something that I wasn't supposed to, she'd squeeze my hand. And I know, zip it.
Dee Dee told people Gypsy's father was an abusive alcoholic and drug addict who refused to pay child support and left them because he couldn't handle his daughter's health problems. None of that was true, but it garnered Dee Dee even more sympathy. Rod was paying child support, plus alimony, plus covering Gypsy's health insurance costs. After they moved to Missouri, Rod stayed in Louisiana. He remarried and had a family with his second wife. Dee Dee pretty much stopped any attempts he made for in-person visits. I have mixed feelings about Rod, because to me, the love between a parent and their child is the strongest love in the world. And if somebody puts a barricade up between you and your child, you would be like a bulldozer trying to get through that barricade to get to your child. But I watched several documentaries on this case, and Rod does seem truly regretful that he didn't try harder to see Gypsy.
They were relocated to Missouri. That's 11 hours away. By that point, she let me talk to Gypsy on the phone whenever I wanted and everything, but she said a visit was pretty much out of the question. I never raised any really hard questions with Dee Dee because she still allowed me to talk to her when we called and keep some kind of relationship. I knew that if I raised any serious questions or issues, she could cut me off in a minute. So the relationship we had was mostly just phone calls, gifts, birthday cards, stuff like that. You know, I'm gonna be here for you forever waiting. One day you're gonna call me and say, hey, Dad, it's Gypsy. You know, can you come see me or something? You know, I was just hoping for that day to come, and it never came. I felt so stupid. Like, why couldn't I see through this? Why? That's all I kept asking myself. I blame myself now for not doing more. I mean, it is what it is. You know, I'm not a blame yourself type of guy, but who else is there to look at, you know?
In 2009, the Sheriff's Department received an anonymous call that Dee Dee might be committing fraud and Gypsy might not be as sick as Dee Dee claimed. They also reported the different birth certificate dates. The Sheriff's Department visited Dee Dee and Gypsy, but Dee Dee was able to manipulate them. She told them she used different birth certificates to make it harder for Gypsy's father to find them since he was abusive. Police never checked with Rod to get his side of the story. They just noted that Gypsy seemed mentally disabled and they closed the case. Gypsy's father was failing her, doctors were failing her, and now the police were failing her. So to me, it's very easy to see why Gypsy felt like she was trapped. The older Gypsy got, the harder it was for Dee Dee to control her, so she started resorting to physical abuse. Dee Dee would also often starve Gypsy.
She'd hit me with a coat hanger or her palm, and I'd have to take so many slaps for depending on how severe it was that I did.
Gypsy turned 18 years old, but Dee Dee made everyone think she was 14 or 15. Gypsy was desperate for relationships outside her mother's grasp, and she started to use the internet after her mom fell asleep. She started to talk to men online. When Dee Dee found out, she locked Gypsy in the shed behind the house. Dee Dee told Gypsy if she didn't stop talking to men online, she'd never let her out of the shed. In 2011, Gypsy met a man at a science fiction and fantasy convention. Gypsy referred to him as her friend, but let's be real, he was probably a pedo. Gypsy was 20 at the time, but she looked 14 or even younger. This man was 36. Gypsy trusted him and told him vaguely about her home life, and he offered to help. One night, Gypsy snuck out of the house and hitchhiked to this man. He was staying with friends at the time who also happened to be friends with Dee Dee. They called Dee Dee, and Dee Dee came over and scooped up her daughter. She showed the man Gypsy's fake birth certificate and threatened to call the police on him.
She took me back home and smashed my computer with a hammer, smashed my cell phone with a hammer, and said, if you ever try to do that again, I'm going to smash your fingers with a hammer. She had taken this dog leash and clipped it to a pair of handcuffs and then clipped the handcuffs to the bed. It was like that for about 2 weeks.
Dee Dee tinted the windows so no one could look in, and she put bells on the doors so she'd hear if Gypsy opened them. She often called Gypsy derogatory names. Dee Dee filed paperwork that stated Gypsy was mentally incompetent. She told Gypsy if she ever went to the police, she would show them this paperwork and no one would believe her. So you see Gypsy try to move away from her mother, but then Dee Dee ramp up all of her ways to control Gypsy and scare Gypsy into obeying. Gypsy continued to use the internet in secret by using her mother's computer, and again do this after Dee Dee fell asleep. She had a joint Facebook account with her mother, but she created about 5 fake Facebook accounts. She also went on online dating sites. In October 2012, when Gypsy was 21, she met 23-year-old Nicholas Godejohn on a Christian dating site. He lived about 600 miles away in Big Bend, Wisconsin. Nicholas, or Nick as he prefers to be called, has issues. He was diagnosed with autism as a child. As an adult, he has an IQ of 82, which is below average. He heard voices and had hallucinations. He thought there was a 500-year-old vampire living in him who was his evil and violent side. He was arrested in 2013 after he watched pee and masturbated in a McDonald's for 9 hours. 9 hours! Apparently, the McDonald's staff was too busy telling customers the ice cream machine was broken to notice the guy jerking off in the corner. Police charged Nick with indecent exposure, and they found a knife on him when they arrested him. Less than a week after Nick and Gypsy met online, they were calling themselves a couple. But it would be over 2 years before they actually met in person. Their relationship was chatting on Facebook or through phone calls and text messages. About a year into their relationship, Gypsy told Nick the truth about what her mother was doing to her. Gypsy kept her relationship with Nick a secret from her mother, but she did tell her neighbor. Aleah Woodmansey was about the same age as Gypsy, but she thought Gypsy was much younger than her. They kind of had a big sister-little sister relationship. Gypsy couldn't talk to her in person about Nick because her mother was always hovering about, so she contacted Aleah from one of her fake Facebook accounts. She asked for advice on kissing and told her she had met a wonderful man. She told Aleah they were talking about eloping. Aleah worried Nick might be a predator taking advantage of a child, so she warned Gypsy to be careful. I'm going to play a clip of Aleah talking about how heartbroken she was when she found out Gypsy could walk and she had been lied to.
I had spent so much time worrying about her and about her condition, and I never knew that she could walk. And then she was walking across the TV. And she was fine.
This is what Gypsy told a detective during her interrogation when he told her that Aleah was worried about her.
Aleah's worried about you?
Aleah? Are you kidding me?
Look at me. Look at me.
Aleah's always been a bully to me.
Eventually, Gypsy and Nick's relationship turned sexual. Nick was a very hypersexual person, and he also liked violence, so he was into BDSM. Nick and Gypsy started to role play where he was the master and she was the sub. Nick told her about his violent, evil side, so Gypsy created her own alter egos. Kitty was a little girl, Candy was slutty, and Ruby was evil. She sent him photos and videos of her scantily dressed. Gypsy played into the submissive part of their role-playing. A psychologist said Nick's autism prevented him from understanding basic human relationships. Nick was incapable of understanding complicated and complex concepts.
He's pretty much hypersexual. He's got this one person who is engaging in sexual acts and sexual behaviors and sexual conversations with him that he's interpreting as love. And again, having autism spectrum disorder means that he doesn't really understand reciprocity.
Man, did Nick love Gypsy. He said during his interrogation he was so madly in love with Gypsy, he would do anything for her. And unfortunately, he did. In March of 2015, Nick and Gypsy finally met in person. Gypsy was 23 and Nick was 26. Gypsy wanted Nick to meet her mother, but they had to be sneaky about it. Gypsy and Dee Dee had plans to see the new Cinderella movie in the theater. Gypsy and Nick came up with a plan to have Nick go to the movie too and meet them, but act like he had never talked to Gypsy before. Gypsy mailed Nick $400 cash so he could buy nice clothes, so he'd look good the first time Dee Dee saw him, and he could then take a bus from Wisconsin to Missouri. Gypsy dressed in a Cinderella outfit, complete with a beautiful wig. They all went to the movie theater and accidentally bumped into each other. Nick asked if he could sit by them during the movie, and Dee Dee allowed it. But she told Gypsy he seemed creepy. During the movie, Gypsy told her mother she needed to use the restroom, and she rolled her wheelchair out of the theater. Nick got up and followed. Dee Dee stayed in the theater. Gypsy then grabbed Nick's hand and led them into the men's bathroom. They went into the handicap stall and had sex. Dee Dee had started to wonder what was taking so long, so she went out of the theater to look for Gypsy, but they had come out of the bathroom and were near the concessions when Dee Dee found them. Dee Dee grabbed Gypsy and pulled her into the women's bathroom. She asked her why she was still hanging around with that guy, and Gypsy asked her why she couldn't have friends. Dee Dee responded by slapping Gypsy. Can you imagine losing your virginity and then immediately afterwards you get slapped by your mother? Now, I have seen post-release, Gypsy is claiming that she did not lose her virginity to Nick, but in a prison interview that I think happened in 2018, Gypsy was still talking about how she had lost her virginity to Nick.
It was time for me to lose my virginity. I always imagine rose petals and candles and, romance, but it was none of those things.
Why still lie about it at that point? Nick went back to Wisconsin, but Gypsy and Nick still wanted to be together, and they wanted to start a life together. But how could they get Gypsy away from Dee Dee?
He had said, I'll protect you from anybody. And I said, anybody? And he said, yeah. And I said, even my mom? And he said, yeah. And that's where it kind of developed from there.
They thought about getting pregnant, and then Dee Dee would have to accept Nick.
Unfortunately, I should have listened to my other part of me. As ironic as I was trying to influence her to go with, but she never went with it. She never wanted to run away. So I couldn't get that to work.
She told Nick the only way they could be together would be if her mother was not alive. So they started talking about ways to kill Dee Dee.
We started looking at some different poisons, looking at arson, but then I finally told him I can't kill her. I don't have it in me to kill her. And he said, well, if you can't kill her, who's going to do it? And I said, could you?
Nick had an interest in violence, and he was madly in love with Gypsy. He also was not mentally all there. So this gave him an opportunity to act out in some violence and also free the woman he loved. It'd be just like a Disney movie where a prince rescued a princess. Gypsy sent Nick another $400 cash, and he took a bus to Springfield, arriving around 5:30 a.m. on June 9th. He checked into the Days Inn Hotel. Now let's talk about the text messages. It bothers me that people pick out 4 text messages of Nick talking about how he wanted to act out in violence, and they use that to determine the whole context of what their relationship must have been. But all of the text messages between Nick and Gypsy were read in court during Nick's trial, and it took a detective over 90 minutes to read all of them. So it is very unfair for people to pull out just a couple of those text messages and say, see, this is how their relationship was. I think it's very important to understand the dynamic of their relationship, and these text messages reveal a very toxic relationship. Neither one of them seems to be the intellectual level of their actual ages. They do have a dom-sub relationship, mostly with Nick being the dom, but there are times when Gypsy is forceful with Nick too. They get angry with each other very quickly, but they also talk about how madly in love they are with each other and how they worship each other. I'm not going to show every single text message that was played in court, but I did pick out most of the ones that I felt were important. And I did speed it up a little bit just so that it wouldn't be such a long segment. I do have in my description box a link to the 2 videos of the detective reading every single text message if you are interested in seeing all of them.
Defendant, I hope they never change because you scare me at times, dear. I hope so, honey, because I put my mind, heart, and soul into being with you and making you happy, sweetie. Gypsy, my feelings won't change, and though I have freakouts, I always come back to you, my love. I'm so sorry I scared you. I'll give you lots of love in the hotel, baby. Do I make you happy? Defendant, when you don't have your freakouts, yes, dear. Gypsy, will you give me my first orgasm soon, my love? Will you finger me on the bus? I desire pleasure too, hun. Defendant, hun, I may be naughty on the bus, just depends on the moment, depends on how naughty, hun. Gypsy, well, I'm going to touch you, and I'm going to kiss you, too, everywhere. Defendant, dear, I may give you permission to. Gypsy, good, darling. Defendant, as for the kissing, you know you can do that on my body, sweetie. Gypsy, the first movie I want to watch with you is 50 Shades of Grey. I also think we should start with soft, wet sex before big-time. Defendant, as for anal, don't worry about that because it's my job as your master too, dear. Gypsy, you make my girly parts tingle. Defendant, I'm glad I do because I'm supposed to, hun. Gypsy, I'm thinking about you in a naughty way. Gypsy, you're a great daddy and thank you for doing the worst for the best of us. Gypsy, so you won't end this? Defendant, I'm not saying anything besides it's a waste of time. Gypsy, get your back now. As I'm concerned, I'm going to rip you a new one. Defendant, that's not worth it. I always fight for us. It's your turn for once. Gypsy, me, how the hell am I going to fight if it's one-sided? What will I wear to impress your folks? I'm going to go with you, damn it. Defendant, I told you I'll let you know in person. Why do you say it that way? Gypsy, I'm me again. I'm sorry, my love. Defendant, dear, you gave me another scare. Gypsy, okay, well, good night, hun. I don't know what's wrong with me. Defendant, come on, baby. I know you can bond with me better than that. I love, adore, and worship you, my dear true love. Gypsy, I didn't mean it when I called a life with you trash. Defendant, dear, it's about the sex like I told you before. The sooner I give you a orgasm, the sooner you go back to your lovey-dovey, happy self, hun. But I just said it back to you, sweetie. Please say it back, sweetie. Gypsy, just forget all I said tonight. Defendant, why do you say that? Gypsy, I never meant any hurtful thing. I'm in self-destruction mode. I want to be with you. Defendant, I know, dear, you scared me, though. I thought I lost you. Gypsy, you almost did. I think I'm bipolar. Defendant, I want to do that right, just so I know you aren't going anywhere. Yes, the tangled posts, when both tied each other up, I wish I could just so you would be stuck with me. Gypsy, you are with a little red stream. Kisses your forehead. Defendant, how, hun? Gypsy, we are tied by our souls and hearts. I might tie you up in a creepy way. LOL. Defendant, honey, I'm warning you though, you ever give me a scare like that in person, I will tie you up until I'm sure you aren't going anywhere. Because I want to make sure we never part, dear. Gypsy, sorry about last night. I'm completely different. I'm your woman. Defendant, okay, dear. Gypsy, and I will be truly your everything. I know I've been up and down, but darling, in 9 days, I'm yours forever. Do you forgive me, darling? Defendant, baby, you have a couple questions to answer online. Gypsy, please read, hun. Defendant, okay, dear. Gypsy, BTW, I trashed my old show broken laptop, so we can just use one computer together, hun. Defendant, here I answered you, and what about all the memories of us on your computer, sweetie? Gypsy, I saved them, but f*** you. You don't get it, do you? Never mind. Defendant, dear, what the heck? Gypsy, I tried being there for you. All you do is make me cry. I give everything for you. Defendant, I was trying to be nice while explaining myself, then you say that. Dear, that was uncalled for. Gypsy, I always put my best, and you say 90% bullshit. Defendant, baby, I don't only make you cry, I have given you plenty of happy memories. Gypsy, who puts up with your overbearing ways, your ridiculous political shit? Defendant, dear, I'm not trying to argue with you, so please stop. Gypsy, I was in a romantic mood, now you screwed that to hell. Defendant, well, sorry, I'll leave you alone. All you do is push me away. Gypsy, sadly, 10 minutes ago, all I wanted was to snuggle with you. Defendant, dear, just stop talking to me. You're only going to make things worse. Since apparently now I know I can't open up to you just because of that, you keep bitching. Gypsy, I opened up. I was what you wanted and you pushed me away. Defendant, yeah, you told me to F off. I guess I'll punch you back. Gypsy, why couldn't you have just been loving? I'm sorry, hon. Look, please don't fight. Just try to understand I was saying how much I need you, and you basically called me a faker. Defendant, I didn't push you away. All I did was explain, and you told me off. If that is how you feel, then I guess I can't make you happy anymore. Sorry, I'm a failure to you. Gypsy, can we please talk online? Please, we're going to be living together soon. Shouldn't we at least try and make this work? You are safe from me now. I did the right thing. Defendant, dear, I hope you come back. Gypsy, you are free, sweetie. You don't have a of a girl now. Defendant, free, yes, free to die. Bye, my love. Gypsy, daddy, daddy, crying. What do you mean? My love? Nicholas, answer me. Defendant, sweetie, if Bella doesn't come back, I don't want anyone else, so I'll end it. My darling daughter, just know that daddy always worshipped you. Gypsy, in what? I don't understand, daddy. Defendant, I'm gone. Bye, my everything. I'll miss you all, and time to end it all. Gypsy, wait, daddy, wait. Please end us. You mean you won't be mine anymore? Defendant, what does my daughter want before I go to hell? Gypsy, I want you to stay with me. You said you was coming to get me. Defendant, Bella doesn't want me, so no one will have me but her, so I'll go to hell then, if I can't have her. Gypsy, she does want you. She needs you. You have had lots of girlfriends. You're handsome. Defendant, I'm done. Bye, my love. You say you need me, but you broke us off, so I cut myself off. If you don't stop me in time, because without you, I'm nothing. Gypsy, are you threatening to yourself? You can't. Defendant, why? Gypsy, because if you do, then I will as well. Defendant, then come back before I do it, because you know I always back up my words. Gypsy, please, please don't do it, my love, please, please. I want you, I do, but I'm bad for you. Stay with me, please. Defendant, I'm about to put the blade on my wrist and let it bleed if you don't come back within the next 3 minutes. Gypsy, I'm here, my love, I'm back. Gypsy, honey, I was wondering, say I wanted to have sex with a guy before leaving town, could I? It's just curious question, LOL. Okay, so I know you're territorial, but I'm being tempted sexually. Darling, can we talk online, please? I'm guessing you're napping. I thought you wasn't getting my text, hon. Defendant, I didn't hear them though, dear, since my phone was on vibrate. Gypsy, he agreed to meet up. We are going to get coffee at this cupcake place Thursday, so that will close that. It's a public place, so all good, hon. Defendant, dear, still, I'm told I'll be around in the area of it to make sure he don't do anything, and you have to accept that. Gypsy, okay, darling. Gypsy, I love, adore, and worship you, my everything. Defendant, I love, adore, and worship you too, my everything times infinity. Defendant, well then, would a sweetheart like a sweetie? Gypsy, I would, sweetie. Defendant, then ask daddy politely, sweetheart. Gypsy, may I have daddy's sweetness, please? Defendant, yes, you may, dear, but warning, once you taste it, you won't want anything. You'll be so addicted to it, darling. Gypsy, I'm fine with being daddy's little addict. Defendant, that's daddy's girl. Gypsy, hun, does he require just the groves and knife? Defendant, hun, that side of me expects duct tape too, to muffle her. Gypsy, okay, baby, we have that. I'll pre-cut it. Defendant, that's good, dear. However, he expects you to give him the full roll. Gypsy, I will. We only have black bondage tape and Minnie Mouse duct tape. Defendant, he said the Minnie Mouse duct tape, hun. Dear, I should ask you this before he has to. Is your mom a light or deep sleeper? Gypsy, light, hun. Defendant, okay, dear. Now he's excited. Gypsy, the shit's gonna go down tonight, Ruby said. Defendant, what does she mean by that, dear? Gypsy, it means it all happens tonight. Defendant, how does Ruby feel about it, hun? Gypsy, she keeps me numb in order to cope and survive, hun. For motivation's sake, bring your A game, hun. This is life with me on the line. Defendant, babe, it's my evil side doing it. He won't mess up because he enjoys killing. Guess you didn't have time to answer me, hun. This night is going by slow. Gypsy, aw, I'm preparing. Defendant, I see. Talk to you later, I guess, hun. I say this because you're obviously busy. Gypsy, LOL, okay, baby. Defendant, why the laughter? I don't get it. No explanation, I see. Today is really falling apart. Wow. Obviously, you're not as lonely without me as I am without you because you're not truly communicating with me, and you have no clue how painful it is to me, or you wouldn't be laughing at me. Gypsy, darling, I'm getting naked in the tub. I was only excited. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just happy. Defendant, sorry, dear. I guess I'm just missing you too much. It's overwhelming me. Gypsy, I left the gloves outside the front door, and the screen door is squeaky, so try to open it just enough to get in and close it gentle. I'll hand him the knife and duct tape inside, darling. Defendant, dear, you're telling all this to my evil side since he is the one agreed to do it. Gypsy, tell him my private parts are shaved. Defendant, okay, baby, he is excited to do this. What about the rest of your bottom half, is what he had me ask you. Gypsy, I will do my legs as soon as he knocks, hun. Defendant, okay, baby, don't be alarmed if he speaks, because yes, it sounds evil, hun. Okay, dear, but when he gets you from the bathroom, I suggest you are naked when he he sees you after the deed. Gypsy, okay, darling, I'll wear you out. Defendant, hon, don't forget you got to deal with my evil side first before we have our fun. So he may wear you out because if you forgot, he is the most sexual part of me. Please don't forget that, dear. Then I wear you out even more, honey. Gypsy, okay, darling, I understand. Defendant, baby, it will, and you better the not just romantic wife of mine, but also my twin flame female daughter soulmate that you were meant to be, honey. Gypsy, I am daddy just as a backup. If it doesn't go right, run out of the house as fast as you can, hun. Defendant, baby, there is no other option. He is going to finish her no matter what. That is how he is. Gypsy, okay, darling, he is brave. I respect and admire that. I know what you mean, hun. It's getting close to time she took her sleep aid pill. Defendant, okay, baby, I'm trying to calculate the money for the ride there. Gypsy, and once you're inside the house, we stay silent, not even a whisper until after I open the bathroom door. Okay, sir? Probably $10? Defendant, dear, never underestimate his will to and also give your address so I make sure I have the right one. Gypsy, I just want to say this, thank you. You're my hero, and I will never leave you. I'm staying with you for eternity. Defendant, thank you, sweetheart. Gypsy, my house has the ramp, and the front porch ramp is painted white. Defendant, okay, dear. Gypsy, you're welcome, my twin flame soulmate. I have said my I love you to her. I'm at peace. Defendant, I'm proud of you, sweetie, and I'm glad I could help. Gypsy, will you need a anxiety med to calm you after, hun? You are the most important person to me, sweetie. You are like me. Fight for what you want and need. Defendant, dear, I don't believe in meds in me. I seem to be immune to them, but you just do what I taught you, and I'll calm down if it is me. But just listen and obey my evil side, and you'll calm him down within time. Gypsy, I hope he loves me too, not just Ruby. I got pain med for my back, and I exercise my legs, so I'm a bit weak walking, but I'll build strength. Defendant, no, you mean to say you're like daddy. It could be part of why you're a daddy's good girl, but you're more like daddy than you may realize, dear. Gypsy, I'm not used to my weight of walking. Gravity is new, LOL. Defendant, I believe in you, honey, as I always have, so I know someday you'll walk completely normal. Gypsy, I just realized the next New Year's I'll be able to kiss you. I never had a New Year's kiss. I need to practice kissing. We are like two fish going for one hook. She's drifting off to sleep. Is there anything you need to know, hun? Defendant, and as for him loving you, my evil side does, however, you must obey him without question unless you don't know what to do. Otherwise, obey him without question, dear, and someday he'll worship you, too. Baby, we're natural at kissing. We just need time to prove it. Gypsy, will he allow me to wet his more penis before he takes me, hun? I don't know if he's gonna do or vag. I was hoping to do with you first. Defendant, not that I can think of, dear, except you were letting him in the front, darling. Gypsy, because at the hotel we can go slow. Oh, and you may not need to put on the gloves because we will sink it so it's never found. And yes, front. Defendant, dear, when he rapes, he takes all parts of the body, so he'll most likely do anal to you, hun. He is still going to put the gloves on, dear. Gypsy, will he at least put saliva so I don't get traumatized, hun? Defendant, remember to take my words to heart, dear. Just listen and obey him without question, and he won't traumatize you. But if you aren't a good girl, he will then do it. It just depends on how well you listen to him, dear. Gypsy, I'll listen to him, darling. It's go time. Are you ready? No matter what, I'm yours forevermore. Defendant, and thanks for answer the question, hun. So should I call the cab, dear? Gypsy, I love, adore, and worship you, my everything. Yes, darling, call the cab. Defendant, I understand, dear, as I am the same. I love, adore, and worship you too, my everything times infinity. Okay, baby, see you soon, dear. Gypsy, by the way, the gloves are blue, and how long must I hold my ears, hun? Defendant, 5 at the most, dear, and the next text will be from him. Gypsy, okay, darling, I'll talk to you when this is all done. She's sleeping very light. Defendant, I'm here and you get your ass to the bathroom. You open the door. Gypsy, yes, sir, I'm going now, sir. Breeze once.
Can you imagine going to school to study criminal justice or whatnot because you want to make society a safer place, but you end up having to talk in court about anal sex and daddy's sweetness? That poor man. On the night of June 9th, Dee Dee and Gypsy painted each other's nails. After Dee Dee fell asleep, Gypsy let Nick in the house. Gypsy gave him rubber gloves, duct tape, and a knife she had stolen from Walmart. Gypsy went into the bathroom and covered her ears. Nick then went into Dee Dee's bedroom across the hall where Dee Dee was sleeping on her stomach. He stabbed her 17 times in her back and slashed the back of her neck. It was very brutal. He nicked his finger during the attack and was bleeding, so he walked to the kitchen to get a paper towel, leaving a trail of blood drops. Nick then went to the bathroom door, and in his scary voice of Victor the vampire, he told Gypsy to take off all her clothes. Gypsy came out wearing only a wig. They went into her bedroom and had sex. They then stole $4,000 cash from Dee Dee's bedroom. Gypsy had prepared an envelope for them to mail the knife to Nick's house, so they wouldn't get caught with it on them. Really, it was Nick's parents' house because he still lived with them. They went to the Days Inn and spent the night. The next day they went to the bus station, bought bus tickets to Wisconsin, and left Missouri. In Big Bend, Nick introduced his family to his girlfriend. For a few days, they thought they got away with it, and Gypsy claimed she wanted to make sure her mother's body was found. She logged into their joint Facebook account and posted, "That bee is dead." People commented and were like, "What the heck, were you hacked?" About an hour later, Gypsy made a more graphic post, and you can pause to read. Now people were worried. Friends tried calling Dee Dee but got no answer. They then drove to her house and saw the vehicle still in the driveway. A friend went into the house and saw Gypsy's wheelchairs, oxygen tank, and all her medications were still there. But he didn't see anybody in the house. He did look in the bedrooms, but he didn't notice Dee Dee's body in her bed. So the news went out that Dee Dee and Gypsy were missing. When police searched the house, they found Dee Dee's body.
48-year-old Dee Dee Blanchard's body was found in her house late Sunday night. Investigators continued searching for her daughter, 19-year-old Gypsy, through the night.
So now everyone knew Dee Dee had been brutally murdered and Gypsy had most likely been kidnapped, and everyone was distraught. To them, Dee Dee was this sweet, caring mother who would do anything for her special needs daughter. Who would want to kill her? And where was Gypsy? That evening, people cried and held a candlelight vigil for Dee Dee.
Friends were asking everybody in the area to keep Dee Dee and Gypsy in their thoughts and prayers.
Dee Dee's family back in Louisiana weren't too sad about hearing Dee Dee had been murdered.
I wasn't thinking, oh my God, my aunt's dead. Because I figured that one day she pissed off somebody to that point, you know. I actually did think that it'd probably be Gypsy. Whenever we later got the word that Gypsy was fine and she was by her boyfriend's house, we were like, she finally did. She couldn't take it anymore, you know.
Police tracked the IP address of the Facebook posts, and it led them to Nick's house in Big Bend, Wisconsin. Local police went to the house, and they kind of swarmed onto the property. They found Gypsy alive and well. This was a relief to everyone who knew them. But then the sheriff held a press conference, and all the lies started to come to light.
I want to start off with saying things are not always as they appear.
People found out Gypsy was a perfectly healthy 23-year-old woman, and Dee Dee had been committing fraud and abusing her daughter for years. And it only got worse when they found out Gypsy and Nick had been arrested. Most had only ever seen Gypsy in a wheelchair, so they were shocked when they saw the first images of Gypsy walking into court.
When I saw her walking into court, I was in shock. I was freaked out.
After she was arrested, Gypsy called her stepmother Christy.
I'm innocent. It's a complicated situation, but what they say on the news is not true.
Then we went in the courtroom, and that's when they showed all the text messaging. And when they said they were presenting that, she turned around and looked at us with fear in her eyes. I guess she didn't think that they were going to pull all of those messages up.
Did you feel lied to?
Yeah, I did.
Nick and Gypsy were interrogated. Nick asked repeatedly if Gypsy was okay and talked about how much he loved and worshipped her. He did lie at first and said that Dee Dee had kicked Gypsy out. But within about 20 minutes, he confessed to stabbing Dee Dee. He is bluntly honest from that point forward. And in my opinion, listening to Nick talk for just 5 minutes tells you this man was not in touch with reality.
Hello.
Hello. You've been here a long time waiting on me to get here?
Oh my gosh, have I ever been.
I tried to get here as fast as I could. Are you tired?
I have stayed awake the entire time.
Okay. Well, I'm going to talk to you, and I guess you said you wanted to talk to me, so
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right.
I've been like so worried, sick with Gypsy.
Okay, we're going to talk about Gypsy. I'll go get the time and the date.
Okay. Yeah, that's the type of one to talk to me. I've been wanting to talk to her for a while because I want to know what's going on. I don't know how to explain it. It's like the way that we clicked is it made it seem like we somehow just knew we were right for each other.
I guess she's your girlfriend. Gypsy's your
Yeah,
girlfriend.
she is. Yeah, she is.
And you
my
love her?
Oh, do I ever?
You love her a lot?
I was bawling my eyes out waiting for this moment where I can talk to you.
Okay.
Because I was so worried about her.
Do you want to do the right thing by Gypsy if you love her?
Well, the truth is I worship her, so
I know you
there's
do.
no way I wouldn't do it on
I know.
would think for her. I had to make sure she was safe. And meaning, like, I had to make sure she felt like she could be comforted
By you, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because, and then the truth is, okay, I'll admit it. I did actually stab her mom. I will admit it.
I know.
The only reason I did it is because I did it for me and her. That's the real reason I did it. I would have never did it if it was not for me and her.
Okay. So you wouldn't have done it if somebody else would have asked?
No.
Okay.
There's no way I would have did it for anyone else.
Okay, so you just
I
did it.
truly do worship her to the point there's nothing I want to do for her.
Did Gypsy know that you were going to kill her mother?
Honestly, she asked me to.
Okay. Why did she ask you to do that?
Because she felt it was her only way to be with me. She asked me more than once because what happened was, because the thing was is that she wanted to do it herself, but she was too, what's the word, not cautious, it's, I guess skittish is the word I'm looking for. Honestly, to this day, I still feel guilty about it.
Okay.
I do.
Right.
Because I learned so much about her mom after she told me and more about it after actually being able to live with her for a little while.
Right.
I actually realized how great of a mom she was.
Okay, so it kind of makes you feel a little guilty.
No. I feel a lot more guilt than that. The reason why we chose the knife is because I guess she thought that it'd be quicker if she bled out quickly. It makes sense. More holes, faster they go away and the faster they are at peace.
Where'd the knife come from? Did you bring it with you from here?
No.
Okay, did you buy it somewhere?
She bought it for me.
Who bought it for you?
Gypsy.
So when you got here, she had a knife?
Yeah.
So did she know you was going to stab her?
Yes.
Do you know how many times you stabbed her?
4.
So when you say 4 actual stabs, so those are the ones that went in deeper?
Yeah.
Was there some little ones? Or
There might have been, because the truth is I counted the ones that went in deep. I didn't count any if there's any other one.
And what did you do when she did that?
It didn't stop me from keep on going.
Did Gypsy come in and stab her?
No. She couldn't do it. That's the reason why she asked me to.
Okay. Did you try to get Gypsy to come in and stab her?
No, I would have never done that.
Did you have sex with Dee?
No.
What do you think about people that have sex with dead bodies?
It's quite disturbing, honestly. She wanted to have sex with me, so I did.
What is sex like to you?
Well, to me, the kind of sex that it was pretty much, it was all 100% consensual, is what I'm looking for. Yeah. Obviously, I was the one that was in charge, but she went along with it willingly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what did you guys do when you had sex?
We pretty much did all 3 things we did. We did all of them.
Do you know if this is the first time Gypsy ever had sex?
It isn't. I actually wanted we took her virginity.
Oh, when did that happen?
It was in a what the heck was it? It was a theater.
Wow, did her mom know?
We kept it from her mom.
Okay. Where did you have sex at in the theater?
It was in a bathroom.
Okay, in a girl's bathroom or boy's bathroom?
She just took me to the boys' bathroom. I didn't have any choice. I just went right into the boys' bathroom. I guess she's okay with it.
Okay, so you were in Springfield before.
Yep.
And did her mom know you were here?
No, I got to meet her mom in person for the first time.
And was her mom nice to you, or?
Yeah, she was really nice to me. I've told her this will haunt me for the rest of my life because it's the truth, it will. I actually remember what I wear.
Okay, what did you wear?
I wear a, it was like a, what the heck is it called? I'm not sure if that's the correct term, but I think it's called a spring jacket.
I think one of the things that she might have said was that you had mentioned that you'd like to rape her mom.
Yeah, at one point I was thinking about it.
Okay.
I did actually mention that I was thinking about it, but then I changed my mind because I felt bad for just the whole situation of having to kill her mom in general.
Okay.
So I decided to just kill it quickly.
What was your plans for your future?
We wanted to have a family together, and we wanted to build a life together and stuff. We thought we really had a chance to do it, so we were happy about that.
Did you tell her who you were, or did you say anything to her?
Well, yeah, actually I did. It was like a different form of myself, though.
Okay, it's not like how you
'Cause
are.
the thing is that I don't know if she told you. I don't know how much she told you about me, but the me you're talking to right now is my normal good self, and that's the reason I feel the guilt I do.
Okay.
But the one who actually did all this, the thing is, the good side of me, originally refused to do it.
Okay.
And that's the reason why it was instant that it happened right away.
Okay.
Because my evil side is what actually did it.
Okay.
What was it? The one thing he said was, you're dead to me, is one thing he said.
Who said?
That part of me said.
Okay.
My evil side of me said.
Okay. I want to know what you said. Was you saying anything to Dee?
No, I didn't say anything to Dee, because that side of me wasn't me.
Did that other side say something to Dee?
Yeah.
What did that other side say?
The other side, that's one of the things that the other side said was you're dead to me. That's one of the things.
Okay. What else?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things and I can't remember them all up. I think one of the things he said was stop resisting, you know you're dead.
Okay.
I think that's one of the other things he said.
Well, it's you that's saying it.
I know, but it's the thing is that I have
You just got angry.
more than one person inside of me. There's actually multiple personalities of myself.
Have you been diagnosed with that?
I probably should be diagnosed with it because it happens. The thing is, I used to take medication because I used to hear voices in my head.
Okay.
And it went away, then it somehow went as just part of myself. So.
Does Gypsy know that?
Yes. I told her my part of me you're talking now, my good part of me, I refused to do it. And I told her either.
Well, is the good part of you what got you on a bus and brought you to Springfield, Missouri to Dee?
Well, it was it was to actually see her, but as for the killing part, that was solely my evil side. The Gypsy likes to call her more, I'm guessing her mom didn't really know about this side of her, but she has an evil side of herself as well. She likes to call her Ruby. One of the things he said to her is never get between me and Ruby, is what he said. Because there's more than one of sides of each other that is in love with each other.
Do you think that if Gypsy hadn't asked you to kill her mom, you'd ever killed her mom?
I know I wouldn't have done it.
You just did it because you loved Gypsy and Gypsy asked you to do it.
Yes.
In Gypsy's interrogation, she lied and lied and lied. But in a way, you can't blame her. Her mother forced her to lie her whole life. That's all she knew how to do. She was 23 at the time, but it is very likely her intellectual level was below that. Not once did Gypsy ask how Nick was.
It's kind of weird though, people seeing you in handcuffs, they give you this weird look, and I'm like, I didn't do anything. I didn't kill nobody, I don't do drugs, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I didn't do nothing. I'm a good girl.
And if you're involved in anything that I'm about ready to tell you, then you need to tell me. Okay? Your mom's dead. Okay? Now, what I want to ask you is your mom's passed away. Okay? And she's deceased. All right? Now, what I want to ask you, did you have involvement in this? Okay?
No.
What happened with your mom that night?
I don't know what happened with my mom at all.
Okay, just listen to me, okay, sweetheart? You know what happened to your mom. Why did you guys hurt your mom? Okay.
We would never.
Sweetheart,
hurt
look at me.
I don't tell lies. You think that it's me? Why would you think that it's me? I have always loved my mom. My mom and I are best friends. I came here because my mother kicked me out of my house. She and I were having relationship problems. I guess she wanted me to stay a little girl forever. She didn't really like my boyfriend. She was like, pretty much, if you want to move to Wisconsin with him, fine, go. Did she have a heart attack? She was sick.
Look at me. We're not going to play those games.
Please tell me she did not commit suicide. She had bipolar.
Okay, we're not going to get off on that track. I have no doubt that you love your mom.
Oh, my mom. I should have everywhere. I honestly didn't do anything to my mama.
Who did? Who did?
I don't know. Look, I'm gonna tell you this, but please don't think I did it because I did anything to my mom because I didn't. Look, Nick and my mom didn't get along very good.
Okay.
But that's all I know.
Okay. So why do you think Nick did this?
I didn't say he did.
Sweetheart, I already know.
he hated my mom, but because my mom didn't want to stay together, I was getting on my mom's nerves. Her nerve medicine was running out. Her patience was getting very thin for me. She asked me to stay away from him, and I promised her I would.
Okay.
But then she just said, well, if you want to go, go. I guess out of love she did that. Because she wanted me to be happy. He knows I love my mom. He knows that she's the most important thing to me. He said that it's us against the world, and that he's going to protect me no matter what, and that we were going to get married and everything, and nothing was going to stop us.
Even your mom? So he took care of that, didn't he?
He's very sweet. He's very kind.
Why did Nick hurt her?
The only reason I could think of is because he wanted me to himself.
Okay.
Because my mom kept on getting in the way of us being together.
Sure.
She said that there was something dangerous about him. She had a way of reading people.
Okay.
And she said that he seems like the head in a closet type of person, the kind of person.
Your mom was right.
Jeffrey Dahmer kind of person.
You think your mom was right? You hit it right on the nail on the head, sweetheart. You know your mom was right when she said that.
I'm sorry that I lied to you from the beginning. I'll tell you the truth all now. I love him so much, but maybe he can get help now.
Okay.
For his silent ways.
Maybe he can.
He killed my mom. He started walking to my mom's room. I got up to use the restroom. He had put me in the bathroom, and he had locked the door. He went to my mom's room, and I heard her cry. I heard him scream for my name.
Your mom was hollering at you for you?
But I was too afraid to go, because I was afraid he'd do the same to me while he was doing it.
No, you say doing it. I can't guess. Part of my job is not to guess, so.
Her.
Okay.
He said a comment. You won't keep us apart. You'll be dead before that happens. You don't know how he is.
Okay.
You don't know how violent he is.
I know.
I was in shock. And then he took me to my bedroom. He made me take off all my toys off the bed. He raped me. And then after he was finished, he made me grab my bag to pack stuff. And he said that it was his way of getting justice or revenge. He just said that she had bad talked him, that she deserved it. He said he would have done way worse if he didn't care about me.
Do you know where he got that at? Wasn't from the kitchen at your guys' house?
I'm not really sure. Certain.
You never agreed, told him that you knew he was going to kill her?
No. I never.
What do you think he's going to tell me?
He's going to tell you that I came here just to see him and that he didn't do it. He has a romantic notion of us doing everything together as a team, but I didn't want this. I wanted my mom and him to...
So did you kill your mom?
No, sir.
Did you help
No, sir.
Nicholas kill your mom?
No, sir.
Did you have knowledge that Nicholas was going to kill your mom before he did it?
No, sir.
Did you guys go anywhere after that?
We went to Waffle House. I started drinking some chocolate milk, but then I got sick. We went back to the hotel to lay down because I wasn't feeling good. I felt dizzy, and my stomach felt bad. Hi, honey. I'm feeling good. He's eating a brownie. But later he will be eating me. I would like to ask some questions that I have.
Okay.
One, what is going to happen to me? And two, am I going to be sent back to Missouri? Can I get my luggage with money and my social security cards?
Talk to your boyfriend. There's a whole lot of stuff you're leaving out, girl.
Like what?
You planned this with him, okay? You didn't get locked in the bathroom, okay? I'm not stupid. First of all, the lock's on this side, so you can't get locked in there. You brought that knife into the picture. You brought the idea into the picture.
I didn't bring the idea.
You did bring it into. You brought the whole thing in the idea.
No.
And he did it for you.
No.
The lies, they're done. I'm not gonna sit in here all night long.
No, I won't give you any life. I did not think of this. He has a evil side, and he did want to do it.
I understand that. I understand that.
He wanted to get rid of my mom.
Yeah, for you.
Yes, for me.
Yeah, because you asked him to.
He wanted to.
Yeah, because you asked him to. We're not playing this game, okay? You asked him to. That's why he did it. You hated your mom?
I did not hate my mom. I did not hate my mom. I loved my mom, and he.
You would have never done this to your mom.
He needs to tell you that I honestly have been having horror when I didn't want to do it, and he said that he would commit suicide if we didn't.
Yeah.
Did he tell you that? I said that it was a bad thought that I was thinking, and yeah, I don't think that we should be doing this.
We're done. You're obviously going to keep telling me lies.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Later on down the line, you're going to be booked in for probably murder, okay? With him as well. All right?
I didn't murder my mom, sir.
Listen to me.
Sir,
Listen to me. You did. You pulled all the strings on it.
I did.
And you're behind it. Now, listen, Gypsy, I'm not going to sit and argue with you about it, okay?
All I wanted was him to come and get me.
No, that's not all you wanted.
I'm not able to be in jail. I have a lot of medical needs.
I understand that, and they'll get taken care of. So, sit tight.
I want a lawyer. Please, sir. Sir? I want a lawyer. Please, I need a lawyer.
Okay, have a seat.
Someone help. Help me. I didn't do this. I didn't do
All right? Everything okay?
Yes.
Right. You're on the floor there?
I'm just scared.
Okay.
Gypsy never mentioned to the police that her mother had been abusing her. Gypsy knew she could walk and didn't need a wheelchair, and she knew she could eat and didn't need a feeding tube. So I think a huge part of her knew something was not right with what her mother was telling her. Dee Dee did put a lot of fear into Gypsy from going to authorities, but she was dead now. So what did Gypsy have to lose by telling the police the truth right from the beginning? Why continue to lie? The only time she mentioned her medical conditions was when she was told she was going to be arrested, and she told them she couldn't go to jail because she had a lot of medical conditions. This was an opportunity for Gypsy to finally tell the truth about what her mother had been doing to her without her mother punishing her, and she still chose to lie. Missouri is a death penalty state, but the prosecutor didn't pursue that because the case was, quote, extraordinary and unusual, unquote. In July 2015, Gypsy accepted a plea deal of second-degree murder and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Everyone can agree Gypsy was a victim of severe child abuse. That doesn't justify her actions, but it did cause prosecutors to be more lenient with her. Some people think they were too lenient, and then you have the other side where they think she shouldn't have gone to prison at all. Regardless, Gypsy was sent off to prison with her plea deal. Nick's trial started in November 2018. Prosecutors were not as lenient with him since he was the one who actually did the killing. Nick didn't get the sympathy from the public that Gypsy got because he wasn't a victim of Dee Dee. Gypsy testified for the defense. Even after Gypsy's testimony about how the murder was her idea and she talked Nick into it, prosecutors still painted a picture that the murder was Nick's idea. Nick's mental state was heavily discussed. I don't understand how in the heck he was deemed competent to stand trial in the first place. He heard voices, for Pete's sake. He thought a vampire lived inside him. He was not in touch with reality. Some argue that if you know right from wrong, you can't be insane, but that's not true. I just covered the Ed Gein case. He was a Wisconsin serial killer. He knew right from wrong. He covered up his tracks, but he was deemed legally insane because he had schizophrenia. He heard voices just like Nick did. A psychologist for the defense testified.
His ability to perceive reality is tenuous. He had a psychotic episode when he was 13 years old and hallucinated and talked about hearing 7 or 8 different kinds of voices.
A psychologist for the state testified and said that Nick was not intellectually impaired. This was the last witness jurors heard from. So they started their deliberation with the words, "Nick is not intellectually impaired," ringing in their head. The defense pushed for Nick to be found guilty of second-degree murder or involuntary manslaughter. After deliberating for 2 hours, the jury found Nick guilty of first-degree murder and armed criminal action. During his sentencing statement, he still professed his love for Gypsy.
When this whole thing happened, all I ever really wanted to be was Blanchard. That's all I ever wanted to be. I've never known what it was like to have a motherly love. I've never known what it's like to have a female connection. I've never known any of that. Because I've never known it, that's part of the reason why I strive so hard to get it. And they've always said it. Love is blind. They've always said that. I'll admit it. I was blind in love. And all I ask is just for mercy, please. Mercy of any form. That's all I ask.
Nick was sentenced to life in prison without parole. This is one of the parts about the case that people have highly different opinions on. Some people think it was a fair sentence. Some think he should have been convicted of a lesser charge. And then some people think he should have been sent to a mental health facility. And that's how I feel. I strongly feel Nick should have been sent to a mental health facility. Dee Dee was cremated and her ashes were sent to her family. Her father flushed her ashes down the toilet.
She said, "We're going to bring that in Mama's room, make her a mask and everything." I said, you gonna pay for it? I'm not paying for it. She said, "We can't afford it." I said, "Flush it in the toilet."
When Dr. Flasterstein learned of Dee Dee's murder, he said, quote, "Poor Gypsy, she suffered all those years and for no reason," unquote. He said he wished he could have done more. You could have. You could have reported her to CPS like your job required you to do. In 2019, Nick gave an interview from prison.
The reason I've agreed to do this interview was because I noticed that my ex-co-defendant, Gypsy Blanchard, got a lot of attention, as she did. I felt that it's been tipped in one side of a scale to where I really wasn't getting much coverage. I wasn't being able to actually be able to voice my opinion. I wasn't able to let everyone know what I truly feel. Of course, I will always have feelings for her, but every human being needs to grow and learn from their mistakes. And I feel that's where me and her both are right now. We're learning from this mistake that we've both made. The way she was raised, no woman should ever, no child for that matter, should ever have to be raised that way. I did feel that she was not taking responsibility for her actions, but at the same time, due to the way I know she was raised, I can't blame her. I can't. That, and along with my religion, with being a Christian, I know I'm not supposed to judge, so I'm not going to judge. Due to all the publicity Gypsy's getting, and she's getting me that publicity too, I feel like I have a responsibility. I feel like I have to be somewhat of a role model. And because of that, that's part of the reason why I feel like I have something to basically owe up to, basically. I mean, I do have restitution to pay to the society, which of course I'll be happy to do. But at the same time, I want to basically let everyone know that I'm not just this cold killer that doesn't have any feelings or anything else like that. I'm a human being. And as they say, human beings make mistakes. I knew that there was something different about myself that I didn't understand. When I was 14 years old, I just remember looking in the mirror and I saw a glimpse of something I didn't recognize in my eye. It was just a shade. And it went away. It was almost like something was trying to tell me, "Oh yeah, I'm there. You've created me. I'm there." But I saw a shadow go right past it. It was almost like it wanted me to know that it was there. I knew there was a darker part of me, and I was actually quite terrified to actually explore it. Now I actually regret exploring it with Gypsy. Unfortunately, that part of me wanted to come out for a very long time, and the very first opportunity it got, I didn't waste any time in basically trying to make an example out of somebody, unfortunately. That dark shadow part of me that really is triggered by anger. The sweet, innocent me that I usually wake up to every day is not there. Basically, it was an angel and a devil. I actually had two different ones speaking to me. They both said one thing and left the decision up to me. First, the angel spoke, which I wish I would have listened, because it's really weird, because that only reassured me that my original idea of what we should do would have been the right thing to do. His very actual words was, take her and run. We had the other part of me, and yeah, that darn devil. What it ended up telling me was, this bitch is dead. That's all it said. Once I heard that, for some darn reason, I don't know why it inflamed the emotion of enrage, but it did. She made me believe that her mom would find her. And I guess that's the reason why the darker part of me was more, I guess you could say, not manipulative, but more able to persuade me into saying, you're gonna have to do this.
In January 2018, Gypsy said, quote, I feel like I'm more free in prison than with living with my mom, because now I'm allowed to just live like a normal woman, unquote. In 2019, Gypsy got engaged to a man named Ken, but they ended that. On July 21st, 2022, Gypsy married Ryan Scott Anderson in a prison ceremony with no guests. He is a middle school special ed teacher who lives in Louisiana. They started communicating to each other when Ryan mailed her a letter in 2020. They began writing each other back and forth, but couldn't meet in person until July 2021. I'm sorry, people who marry prisoners are weird. How the heck can you fall in love with someone when they're behind bars and you're on the outside? Like, you can't get to know them. I also get very suspicious of the motives behind both parties. Some have pointed out that Ryan looks like Dee Dee, and I do kind of see that, and that is very alarming. However, I got a comment on a short that I made about Gypsy about how Ryan looks like Peter Griffin, and now I can't unsee that. In September 2023, Gypsy was granted parole. She served 85% of her sentence and was released on December 28, 2023. At the time I'm recording this, she's only been out for about 2 weeks. She has racked up 8 million followers on Instagram, has released an ebook, and gone on a media tour. She's been on The View, Good Morning America, Podcast, Inside Edition, Extra, Access Hollywood. At this point, it might just be easier to name the shows she has not been on. Just 5 days after being released from prison for plotting her mother's murder, Gypsy posted on the internet that all the D she was getting from her husband every night was fire.
Gypsy Rose, herself, the celeb of the moment.
I'm on a high right now. I'm living my best life, and y'all can't take that from me.
And the D is
fire.
Her actions, to me, are not speaking remorse at all. And I worry what's going to happen in 4 months when people care less about this story. What is Gypsy going to do to get attention? While Gypsy is acting like a celebrity and telling the world how awesome her husband's penis is, Nick sits in prison for the rest of his life. In early December 2023, his lawyers requested a new trial. That is still pending at the time I'm recording this. Gypsy is a victim of child abuse. There's no doubt to that. But she's also a convicted felon. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. To me, it is very disturbing how she's being treated like a celebrity and like she's some hero. Most serial killers are abused as children. Should they be given leniency? She needs a lot of therapy because her actions are questionable. Like, she recently just posted a picture with her 15-year-old nephew, and she linked his account on there and said something about all the women need to send him their love. And he's 15. So she's putting a minor's life in jeopardy. I know it's not my place to tell anybody how to live their life, but I really think she needs to get off social media until she heals and adjusts to life outside of prison. This is the very first time in her life that she's been a free woman. And like I said, she's only been out for 2 weeks. You do not adjust to that in 2 weeks. Neither Gypsy nor Nick are cold-blooded killers. People feel sorry for Gypsy because she is a victim of child abuse, while some think she manipulated a mentally handicapped man into murdering her mother for her. And that's how I feel. I am very bothered with the way Gypsy talks about Nick.
So this is your happily ever after, the gal who liked being a princess.
It is, yeah. I had to kiss a couple frogs to get to this one. Handsome face.
Oh, thank you, baby.
I can't stand him. Because I went from one person to another. I only used the one card that I have over you. Gypsy.
She said, if you truly love me, you'd be willing to do this for me because you know this is the only way we can be together. At some point, I ended up giving in because I didn't know what else to do. There's nothing I wouldn't do for her.
I asked him a question. I asked him to kill my mother, but I didn't hold it to his head and make him do it.
I told her I'd do anything to be with you, you know that. And she said, as long as my mom's alive, I can't be with you. She made that very clear.
He seemed more happy to do it than anything. And that's why I can't stand him. I think he knew that he could easily get me out of that situation by calling the police.
He has autism, you know, he has Asperger's. And that's
Is
why
he being
lives with us.
diagnosed with autism and
Yes.
Asperger's?
Yes.
Okay.
Last doctor he talked to, they said his mind is probably always going to be 15, 16, right around there.
I wish he would have been more responsible.
You were sentenced to 10 years. He was sentenced to life in prison. He will spend the rest of his life in jail. How do you feel about that?
I know I have regrets. I can't speak for him, so I really don't know his side of things. All I know is, I did my time. He's doing his time. That's all the best that I could do at this point. Like, for me, I have to focus on myself right now. I can't look in the past and worry about him or anything else going on. I have to prioritize myself in this moment.
What do you think should happen to Nick?
I think he should spend the rest of his life in prison.
Do you think he exploited you?
I think he did. I think he used me to have his own means. He was a lonely person, not a lot of friends. Girls would never look at him, so I was the only one that would never tell him no.
He's falling into a relationship with her that he doesn't have the capacity to understand. They're both influencing one another, but ultimately, it is Gypsy who does the extreme behavior of engaging in conversations that would lead Nicholas to committing this murder as a way of setting them both free.
I'm always going to love her unconditionally, no matter what happens. Doesn't matter if we break off, it doesn't matter what happens. I'm always going to love her unconditionally. To this day, I still do love her. I do love her. And I know for a fact that she still does love me.
Gypsy needs to sit down and realize that she would most likely not be free if it were not for Nicholas Godejohn. Obviously, the best option would have been to run away, go to the authorities. But Gypsy either didn't want to do that or she couldn't because she was too scared. And if she was scared, that's very valid. Dee Dee was threatening her, she was punishing her, she was physically abusing her. So if Gypsy was scared, I wouldn't doubt that. That would have been the right thing to do, but it also would have been the hardest thing to do. So there would have been only two other outcomes to this had Nick not murdered Dee Dee. One is that Gypsy would still be under her mother's thumb to this day. Her mother still would be forcing her to pretend to be sick. She'd be forcing her to still take medication she didn't need, etc., etc. The other outcome would have been that Dee Dee would have killed Gypsy. That is very often the case when it comes to Munchausen's by proxy. There is a strong chance Dee Dee would have killed Gypsy and then just made it look like one of her health conditions killed her. Gypsy needs to be more grateful for that. And think about that when she's prancing around in low-cut shirts, talking about how much sex she's having every night.
After Gypsy had been transferred to Chillicothe, she ended up calling me one evening. She immediately started apologizing for everything, and then she started carrying on about how she's learning to do her hair and like she's learning to do her makeup and she's making friends. I mean, honestly, it sounds like she's just away for college. And I feel like, as sad as it may sound, her story really does finally have a happy ending, at least for her.
I forget where I heard this. I think it was from one of the investigators, but he said no one is a victim in this case. And that is so true. I always do a little photo montage of the victims at the end of my true crime videos, just as a way to honor them. I'm not going to do that with this one, because nobody is the true victim. Dee Dee abused her child. Gypsy lied and manipulated. Nicholas committed murder. Nobody wins here. It's just sad all the way around. That's all I have for this case. I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.